The palace alarm shrieked through the crystalline corridors of the Zarathi throne world, and Queen Velkhara's rage shook the very foundations of the ancient structure. Her scales, normally a deep crimson, had flushed to near black with fury and fear. Her son, Prince Zixler, barely 3 cycles old, had vanished from his chambers. "Find him!" she roared, her voice carrying the harmonic undertones that made lesser species tremble. "Tear this palace apart if you must." 200 elite guards mobilized instantly, their weapons humming to life. The Zarathi were the most feared species in the Galactic Council, apex predators who had conquered 17 star systems through sheer military might. They did not lose their children. Commander Thrace, head of the Royal Guard, stood before his queen with his head bowed. "Your Majesty, we have one unusual report. Speak, or I'll have your throat." Velkhara hissed, her clawed hands flexing. The human guard, Elsa Chen. She did not report for her shift change. Her quarters are locked from the inside. The queen's eyes narrowed to slits. Humans, those strange, soft creatures from the backwater world called Earth. They had been admitted to the galactic community only 2 decades ago, and their presence was still controversial. Velkhara hattered a handful as guards as a diplomatic gesture, nothing more. They were weak, fragile things. No scales, no claws, no natural weapons whatsoever. "Break down her door," the queen commanded, her voice dropping to a deadly whisper. If she has harmed Mycen, the implication hung in the air like a blade. They found them in Elsa's modest quarters on the lower levels, far from the opulent royal chambers. The door crashed open and 15 guards poured in with weapons raised, ready for violence. Then they stopped. Prince Zixlar, the heir to the most powerful throne in 3 sectors, was curled upon the human's narrow bunk, his small form nestled against Elsa's chest. The human woman had one arm wrapped protectively around him, her other hand resting on his scaled back. Both were sound asleep. The prince's breathing was steady and peaceful, his small claws retracted. A half-empty bottle of what appeared to be warm milk sat on the bedside table alongside a datapad displaying what looked like children's stories. Queen Velkhara swept into the room moments later, her presence making the air itself feel heavy. She took in the scene with predatory eyes, her mind racing through possible explanations, possible betrayals. "Elsa Chen," she said, her voice a low growl. "Explain now." Elsa's eyes snapped open. For just a moment, there was a flicker of fear. Any sensible creature feared an angry Zarathi queen. But then she looked down at the sleeping prince, and her expression softened into something fierce and protective. "With respect, Your Majesty," Elsa said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Let's take this outside. He just fell asleep." The audacity of it struck everyone silent. A human ordering a queen. Commander Thrace reached for his weapon, but Velkhara raised a hand, stopping him. There was something in the human's eyes, something she recognized. She gestured for Elsa to follow her into the corridor, leaving 2 guards to watch the still sleeping prince. Once outside, Elsa stood at attention, though her eyes remained defiant. She wore simple guard fatigues and even among the towering Zarathi warriors. She looked impossibly small, fragile, yet she did not flinch. "Explain," Velkhara repeated. "Why my son is in your quarters instead of his own. Why you did not report this. Why I should not have you executed for abduction." Elsa took a breath. 3 hours ago, I was on patrol in the West Wing when I heard crying. Not the alarm, just crying. I found Prince Zixler wandering near the servants' passages. He was alone and terrified. Impossible. His nurses were both unconscious in his chambers. I've already filed a report. They weren't harmed, but someone used a sleep agent. I believe it was an actual abduction attempt, Your Majesty. Someone wanted him found in those passages. Velkar's scales rippled with barely contained violence. And you took him to your quarters instead of raising the alarm. He was crying, Elsa said simply. He kept saying Mama Mama in Zarathi, but he was also saying something else. He was saying Zia. The queen's eyes widened fractionally. Zaya was the name Zixler had given to Elsa, his own childish pronunciation of her name, She had not known her son even remembered the human guard. I tried to return him, Elsa continued, but the moment I turned toward the royal quarters, he panicked. Completely panicked. Screaming, clawing, Your Majesty. Something scared him badly. Someone he trusted in those chambers did this to him. So I made a choice. You made a choice, Velcaire repeated coldly. To hide my son. I made a choice, Elsa said, meeting the Queen's eyes without wavering to keep him safe until I could figure out who to trust. I was going to bring him to Commander Thrace in the morning. But he wouldn't calm down. He wouldn't stop crying. So she paused, something vulnerable crossing her face. I did what my mother is to do for me. Warm milk, a story. A safe place to sleep? You are a guard, Velcara said. Not a nurse. I'm a human, Elsa replied quietly. We're caregivers. It's what we do. Silence stretched between them. Behind the Queen, Commander Thrace and a dozen guards waited for the order to arrest or execute this presumptuous human. Then, Queen Velcara did something that shocked everyone present. She laughed, a short, sharp sound like breaking glass. You creatures are insane, she said. But there was something new in her voice, almost respect. You have no claws, no venom, no armor. Your world is so soft that you developed no natural weapons at all. And yet you pick up a prince of the Zarathi, one of the most dangerous species in the galaxy, and your instincts to give him warm milk in a bedtime story. Yes, Your Majesty, Elsa said simply. Ballura studied the human for a long moment, her warrior's mind reassessing everything she thought she knew about these strange creatures from Earth. They were weak, yes, fragile, certainly, but perhaps there were different kinds of strength. Come, the Queen said finally, turning back toward Elsa's quarters. Show me these children's stories that calmed the Prince of Zarath when his own mother could not. They returned to find Zixler still sleeping peacefully, his small chest rising and falling in steady rhythm. Velcura approached slowly, her movements careful for perhaps the first time in years. She looked down at Herson, then at the datapad. The Velveteen Rabbit, she read aloud, her accent making the human words sound strange. What is this? A story about becoming real through being loved, Elsa said softly. About how being held and cared for makes us who we are. The Queen wassailed for a long time, watching her son's leap. Finally, she spoke without looking away from Zixler. Elsa Chen, from this moment, you are elevated to the position of Royal Guardian. You will be responsible for my son's personal security and well-being. You will have the authority to override anyone, even me, if you believe he is in danger. The guards behind her made sounds of shock and protest but silenced them with a gesture. Your Majesty, Elsa said, clearly stunned. I'm honored, but nothing. The Queen finally turned to face her. You saw danger when others saw routine. You prioritized his emotional safety over protocol. And most importantly, when faced with a choice between following orders and protecting a child, you chose the child. These are not qualities I can train. These are qualities your species seems to possess naturally. She reached out with one clawed hand and placed it on Elsa's shoulder, a gesture of trust that made several guards gasp. Perhaps, Velcara said thoughtfully, this is why humans will surprise us all. You do not conquer through strength. You conquer through compassion, through making even the fiercest warriors, children, feel safe enough to sleep. Behind them, Prince Zixar stirred, his eyes opening slowly. When he saw his mother and Elsa together, he smiled. A small, sleepy, utterly trusting smile. Mama, he said. Zia. And in that moment, watching the most powerful queen in 3 sectors kneel beside a human guard's bed to comfort their son, the guards present realized they were witnessing something unprecedented. Not a conquest of weapons or warfare, but something far more profound. Humanity had found its place among these stars, not by being the strongest, but by being what the galaxy had forgotten how to be: gentle.